All right. Good morning. Welcome everybody. Ignite session 15. Last week we went with win the buyer. Today we're talking about with the seller. Win the seller. It's a big one. We're going to jump right into it. We're not going to waste any time. You guys, I will tell you though, buyers have a lot of nuances. Buyers definitely have a lot of steps. I do find that buyer steps are a little bit easier to understand because the order in which you work with a buyer, I think chronologically makes a little bit of sense. And so it's a little bit easier for our minds to wrap our heads around. With sellers, there's a bunch of steps. I'd actually venture to say there's even more steps to working with a seller. It's not that it's more difficult to work with a seller. I just find that the steps can overlap and cross. And the one, for instance, before we get started is a seller can actually, you can be working on contracts, scheduling photos, as well as getting the MLS listing input. I'm sorry, getting the listing input into the MLS. There's so many moving parts at the beginning of a seller listing their home that is kind of all being worked on at once. With a buyer, it just seems to be like it's in much more chronological order, except for the fact that, you know, you might do a buyer's consult and they haven't met with a lender, or they have met with a lender and you do a buyer's consult. So stop me, pause me. I want you to bombard me during this session with any seller questions that you have. I'll teach you guys kind of what my methods are and what my order is. But seriously, stop me, pause me. Winning with a seller, I find, is more difficult than winning with a buyer. The number one reason is buyers are excited to buy a house, and sellers, it's a chore, right? They have to get their house ready. They have to deal with showings. They have to do, so the emotions aren't as high. So it's a little bit more difficult to deal with. And you have so many detailed points of things going on that everybody's minds can get jumbled up. So seriously, ask me a bunch of questions. All right. Love starting out with the Gary Keller quotes. While leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to its highest level with the lowest cost and highest net. Let me say that again. Build it to its highest level with the lowest cost and highest net. But Bruce, I don't pay for anything on the buy side. Like, they pay for their inspection, they do this. And on the sell side, like, we pay for photos and marketing and sometimes staging and sometimes home warranties and sometimes this. Yes, you're not wrong. You spend more physical dollars on a listing. But what he's saying here, and if you really read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent and the Shift book, cost is time and money. You spend much greater amounts of time with a buyer than you ever do a seller. On an average market, the ratio is 1 to 3. For every 1 hour you spend with a seller, you spend on average 3 with the buyer. So even though dollars aren't necessarily coming out of your account with a seller, you're spending 3 times the amount of hours with them, which is cost, which is time is money. Because it takes away from lead gen, it takes away from all the other things you could be doing with your life and your family. In our Denver market, I'm saying we're slipping out of that right now. I'd love to see the new stats on this, but we were running at a 1 to 8 ratio just a few months back. For every 1 hour you spent with a seller, you spent on average 8 with a buyer. So as you can see, it is the lowest cost and highest net. The highest return of time. The other reason why it's the highest net is because traditionally, there are a lot of agents out there that will build in those extra costs for a listing to their side of the commission. So if you guys have been around for a while, I'm not sure, You probably look at the buy side and always see 2.5%, 2.8%, or 3%. That's because it's advertised. On the selling side, there's a lot of agents that will list homes for 7%, pay out 3 to the buyer side and take 4. I myself in my business, I take 6%, and then I take 3.2% and give 2.8% to the buyer. So that extra 2% that I get easily pays for my costs. So that's the other reason why it has the highest net, not just time, but you can also net more money if you know how to talk around commissions and understand exactly how to set those forth. Questions so far? All right. We talked about this with buyers, and we got to talk about it with every single lead, right? We need A, qualified sellers, ready, willing, and able to do business in the next 14 days. I tell you, A buyers or A sellers for me are ready to do business within the next 30 to 45 days. All right, I think the next 14 days, you've already got so much done and in play and going on. These guys are on lockdown. So my qualified sellers, I usually look at about 30 to 45 days out. Are we getting started today? Or are we gonna start looking at photos 30 to 45 days out? Any way you slice it, you have to have a qualified lead, right? Ready, willing, and able. Much like a buyer, sellers also have deadlines. They also have things that they need to do. Sometimes sellers will list the house well before their deadline, and it will be a very slow moving process. They want to test the water. They want to list their home, and they don't care if it sits for a few months because they want to try their price. If they get this price, I'll move sooner, is what they kind of tell you. But as time comes and as time creeps up on them, maybe for a new job or something's going on in their life, they have a timeline. That's when you start to see massive price reductions. So I don't want to get off too far on a tangent, but I think this also goes to our market cycle, right? So for those of you on Zoom, for those of you watching the recording, it's September 7th of 2022 right now. And we're going to be going into our winter months. All right. I want to dispel some myths. All right. A lot of people think our market dies or slows way down in the winter months. I don't mind using the word market. I will tell you, your business does not have to slow down in the winter months. The buyers that are out in the winter months that want to buy are serious. The sellers that list their home are very serious. So if you ever have a buyer looking in the winter / spring, encourage them to get started in the winter. They're gonna most likely have a better opportunity of negotiating price down, because any seller that lists in the winter, they need to sell, and they're more likely to take less money, more likely to do rapid price reductions and those types of things. On the selling side, if you have somebody that wants to sell in the winter or is thinking about winter or the spring, and they have some timeline, there is nothing wrong with getting their house on the market in the winter, thus creating a little bit more available inventory for some buyers. And if they have time, then they stand still. Don't do any sort of price reductions if you don't need to, if they have some more time. All right, so that's just a little bit of a market that we're going to head into. In my career, my slowest months are July, August, and September. My hottest months are usually March, April, sometimes May, but definitely December. December actually holds my record, 13 closings in 1 month, and that December is the time. If you guys start to talk to investors like to close before the end of the year. I'm very good at getting a buyer to stop thinking about spring and getting into the market in October, November, December, because they're going to get a better price for the house. The price that I can save them on the cost of a house in December will always outweigh the cost of them breaking their lease. You just got to have the right words to make sure that you understand a seller can actually give seller concession to a buyer that they can then use for closing costs on their loan, which that closing cost savings for them keeps money in their bank account that they're able to use to buy out their lease with their landlord. All right, so sorry, just a little food for thought about the market we're going into. I absolutely love the fall and winter months. It's absolutely where I shine. There's less agents working. You guys will. I mean, this all makes sense to most of you guys. Not a lot of agents want to do open houses in the winter. If you're the one doing open houses in the winter, do you know how many buyer leads you pick up that are starting to think about buying a home in early next year, January, February, March? That's why my December is always huge, because I can get people off the fence before the year ends. And then my March, April timeframe is massively big because I continue to do activities throughout the fall and winter months that other agents aren't willing to do. And because there's so few open houses that happen, I'm capturing all the buyer leads, and those buyer leads I'm nurturing or helping them get started. And remember, it's a process for buyer leads. So if they get started with me in December, January, February, we're closing March or April. So again, I don't like to leave anything to chance. I want your guys' business to be very level throughout the months. All right, you're gonna have a little bit of this, right? Some months you might have 2, and 1 month you might have nothing. But the fact of the matter is, I don't want you to do this. Right? This is early spring, summer, fall, winter. Don't have a business like that. It will stress you out. You won't be in the industry very long. You won't have any life because you'll never have time to go on vacation because you're always going to be worried about having so much business in the summer. Cool. Qualified sellers. We hit this all the time. You need motivation. Has to have motivation. All right, the 3 L's of the MREA. If you guys haven't read the MREA leads listing leverage class that's out there, the chapter in the book, leads listings leverage is amazing. I think we all kind of understand the concept, but I think when we're lead generating, it's very easy to find buyers. It's very easy to ask for buyer leads. We need to change our tune. We need to change how we do it, right? If I'm door knocking for an open house, 98% of people think that the script is asking for buyer leads to come to that open house. I think that's fine if you want to pick up a bunch of buyers. But if you read the MREA and you learn about the 3 L's, you learn that you need to tweak that script. Hey, I'm out here advertising our open house you see down the street. And because of all the marketing efforts that we do, we know for a 100% fact that there will be buyers that come into this house that, one, may not like the layout or the cosmetics, but really love the neighborhood. And so we're looking to see who might be in your neighborhood that also might be thinking about selling, sometime in the future. It might be now, it might be a couple of months from now. Do you know of anybody? Every type of lead generation that we do, we need to learn the script that asks for seller leads, but also has the opportunity to receive buyer leads. So let me show you that again. I'm out here today to advertise this open house we're going to be doing down the street from you. Right there is a subconscious ask for, hey, we have a house for sale. If you know of a buyer, come bring them by. Then you hit them with the ask, the direct ask of a seller listing. If you guys can use that during your lead generation time, you're going to fall into the 3 L's. Listings, leverage, leads. All right, we're going to start with a foundation, right? It's a triangle. So we're going to start with leads. Leads, you have to have leads in order to get listings. You want to make sure you tweak your scripts to focus on listings, like we just said. So once we have our leads, we want to get our listings. The reason why listings happen is because it leverages us on multiple different levels and multiple different ways. The main way listings leverage us is time. So I know we opened up with a market that we were just in, an 8-to-1 ratio, right? So if you have a buyer and you're spending 8 hours with them to 1 hour of time spent that you would spend with a listing, you're literally just taking away 7 hours out of your week that you can't get back, that you can't lead generate through. So listings leverages your time to generate more business. It also leverages you in your marketing stance because now you have something to advertise. Now you have an open house opportunity and you have a sign in the yard where people, buyer leads typically, will start inquiring about the house. You can leverage your time and dollars by double ending a deal, meaning a buyer lead calls on your sign or inquires on your website and they want to go see the house. They have no agent and the perfect scenario happens to where they want to buy that house. You're going to make more money typically, unless you've negotiated a different type of commission structure. You're going to net more money by double ending the deal. So as you can see, I'm not going to keep going on and on and on about it. Read that chapter in the MREA. There's also a clinic on KW Connect that you can attend called Leads, Listings, and Leverage. It tells you exactly why every person in our entire industry, doesn't matter what brokerage firm we're with, we all focus on listings. The virtue of seller listings. Seller listings means marketing opportunities. We just talked about that. You have more time. Seller listings maximize your per hour compensation. Again, 8-to-1 ratio lately. I would venture to say we're only even down to like probably a 1-to-5 ratio right now with our market, what's doing right now. Volume. The who controls the listings controls market share. If you control market share, you can control your dollar, your volume, right? So we always talk about units as well as volume, right? The more listings you have, the greater chance that you're controlling the market, which has the greater chance of you having greater market share, which thus turns into volume. When you work heavily with buyer leads, your average sales price point is typically under the average for the area. When you heavily dominate listings, on average, you are actually selling listings traditionally for more than the average in a given city. There's multiple different reasons there. With your seller listings, you are on the front end of pricing. Yeah, you get to control the market. That's what I'm trying to say, you guys. You get to educate and control the market. You get to understand where you feel the home should be priced, where you feel it will sell. And you get to understand if you want to tell your sellers to hold off for a little bit. Right now, I'm telling a lot of my sellers, look, if you're not desperate and you don't have to get out of your home today, hang tight. We had a back to school rush. We had a Labor Day rush. And by rush, I mean people not doing real estate. We had a rush of people with their lives going on. Last minute vacations before school started. School's starting, so I've got to have all of those logistics of back to school, shopping and vice versa, and teacher meetings and yada yada. And then we just had Labor Day hit. You guys, I told a bunch of my listings to hold off, and 2 of them just are about to go under contract this week, and they were ready to reduce their price lower than what we're getting offers for this week. Now, I do have a couple others that we're going to need to do a price reduction because we're not seeing the same activity. But for 2 of them, it worked out. So you got to know your market too. Properly marketed seller listings brings you more business, right? We talked about that. Sign in the yard. Opportunities on social media. Opportunities for open houses. All right, very similar to a buyer service cycle. We all as agents naturally want to grab a lead and sell them a home, or grab a lead and sell their home. We always need to keep in mind that it's a process. It's a process, and it's a long, drawn out process. The nice thing about listings, very nice thing about listings, is that you typically get a listing lead, and that starts to transact a lot faster than a buyer lead. So quiz question, I'm losing some of you. What is the average lead time for a buyer lead? We're gonna sit here. Somebody take a stab in the dark.
Is it a year?
3 months.
Somebody said 3 months, somebody said a year. Let's slice that in half. It's about an average of 6 months. So when a buyer lead is thinking about buying a house, they traditionally start using their megaphone and shouting out to the world, their friends, their family, social media, you what have it, about 6 months on average before they actually buy a house. So if we don't really ever know when we have a lead until they actually tell us, right? So that's them shouting it on the rooftop. So a buyer lead traditionally has more time to nurture and go through the process, then transact. The nice thing about a seller lead is when a seller pipes up and starts using their megaphone to shout it out to the world, their average lead time is 1 to 3 months. It's cut in half and then some. And a lot of that, you guys, is just because it's more of a struggle for them. They have to get their home ready. A lot of seller leads are saying, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in selling my house. And they're actually renovating their house to get it ready for sale. They just don't want to tell you because it's stressful. But the cycle is still the same. It's a process. Understand that it doesn't happen overnight. Breathe easy if you're starting to get leads, but you don't feel like you have any traction. Go back to what we talked about with motivation. They have to be motivated. They have to be ready, willing, and able in order for you to really start that process with the seller. Any questions so far? I know we're diving into more of the basics in the 1,000-foot view. All right, let's dive into the details then. With all leads, I don't care if it's seller or buyer, respond right away. Communication is key. We live in a world where everybody wants to receive instant gratification. Instant gratification. I've been doing a little bit of a test. When I'm in the office, I write down, there are so many more inquiries from you guys than when I work from home. What that means to me is that you guys are more likely to come to me if you're in the office and I'm in the office at the same time to get your quick questions answered versus texting me or calling me because you know that I'm not at the office. So that's why you guys always see me at the office. I want to be available for you guys because it's natural and it's society that's causing all of us to want instant communication. It's causing all of us to want instant things. When a seller is online or when a seller calls you or any lead for that matter, they're thinking about real estate right then and there. It's on their mind. They want to talk about it. They want to engage. They want to hear from you. So responding to leads is so important because if you even wait 15, 20 minutes, that lead now could be on to folding laundry, getting the kids ready for bed, making dinner, making lunch, going back to work. If you don't hit a lead that inquires fast, we call it speed to lead, 1 to 5 minutes. If you miss someone's call, try to call them back within 1 to 5 minutes. Jarrett Cosgrove was on yesterday. He had somebody call in. We were talking. I wanted him to take that unknown call because he was making cold calls and a call came back. There's a 50-50 chance that call was somebody that he had just left a message for that he had just called. While that person's on the line, we need to grab him. Because if he were to take that stance of, hey, I just want to talk to Bruce, I'll call this person back later, they may be busy again. And then all of a sudden, no connection ever happens. All right. Get valid and complete contact information. Save it to command, create an opportunity. All right. Number 2 is where I really want you guys to understand you're building your business. All right. You need to always think about handing your business off to other people. You have to think that way And if you think that way, you will always start to build business the way that you see all of the successful businesses around you do. All right. If you go up to Shields up in Johnstown, those employees have a process that they had to learn in order to be in the position that they're in the department that they're in order to make the store run as a unit. The store owner may have once been a cashier, but the store owner is not going to teach the new cashier exactly how to do their job. The store owner knows that there has to be a policies and procedural manual for cashiers to go through and learn. There has to be a policy and procedures manual for a lead cashier to be able to teach a new cashier how to do their job. Your business is no different, you guys. If you guys don't have, I would venture to say at least 10 to 12 checklists for real estate, we need to get started. So this is where I encourage you guys to grab a piece of paper, pull open Google Sheets, forms, whatever you want, and start building a checklist for when you have a seller lead. We get very excited about leads, very, very excited, and we miss steps because we don't follow a system, a policies and procedure manual. If Shields doesn't follow a system and a manual for how to train a cashier and how that cashier needs to operate, chaos starts to ensue. If you guys want to keep chaos out of your life and your real estate business, please get started on a checklist. I'm going to give you guys an easy way to get started. This is where I highlight. We want to highlight one of the resources that we have. So if all of you guys have my my Google Drive for productivity coaching, I want you guys to go into sellers. And inside of this folder, there's a document called there's tons and tons of checklists. And then there's a document that says, I have a seller, now what? This was based upon exactly how all of my seller listings go. I made it a little bit of interactiveness. I made it much of a checklist. All right. But track where they came from, enter into the CRM. Here's all of the documents that you need to prepare for your listing. Hold a 4-part listing consultation, pre-listing checklist. Are documents signed? Did I get the photographer scheduled? Oh crap, did I ask the seller about an extra key? Do I need to go to the hardware store and make a key? You guys, the last thing you guys want to do is go to a house, put a sign and lockbox up, talk to the seller, and forget to put the key in. I know it sounds crazy that how could you put a lockbox on a door and forget to put a key in there that another agent's going to use? Well, let me tell you, you're smelling your commission dollars. The seller just signed, the photos came back. They're nervous and excited, and they've got so many questions to ask you about the showing process. Hey, Bruce, okay, gosh, we're getting a little nervous. Hey, we got everything ready. You know, when do you think our first showing will be? How does this work again? They're going to text us when all of a sudden your sellers just start to ask you a litany of questions. You put the sign and lockbox up, you get in your car, you drive down the street, you put your first showing up, and the agent gets there and bam, not one person can get into the house because there's no key in the door. Anyways, this checklist was developed off of what my seller process looks like. You can tweak it, you can change it, download it, save it to yourself. But that's exactly what we're starting to go through here with section number 2 on this slide here. Let's go through it. Let's just see another one here. Seller intake form. Seller intake form. When you receive a lead, you need to ask them a bunch of questions. I always tell both buyers and sellers, look, I'm a very inquisitive agent. You see, the more questions that I ask you, the more I understand your situation and the more that I will understand how to walk you through your situation. So if you don't mind, I've got a ton of questions that I need to ask you. Go through, ask them these questions. What'd you hear about me? Where are you moving? What's motivating to you about the move? How soon do you need to be there? If we sell your home in 30 days, will that pose a problem? If yes, what would that problem be? You guys, what's, do you guys see anything in here that says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, tell me how many bedrooms you have? Tell me how many baths you have? No. With any lead, we need to ask questions about why they're doing what they're doing. What's their situation look like? The motivation that happens. You see, if we, yes, sorry, Alicia. Yeah, I can remind you how to. So we need to ask them these motivational questions because that's what makes people act, right? Emotions make people act. When somebody's motivated to do something, they're going to go. Right now, if Michaela says, and I'm just picking on her because she's a nurse, Michaela says, hey, Bruce, I need you to go to the hospital. What do you think the first things out of my mouth are? What? I need a hospital? Is something wrong? Is anything going on? Like what do you need me for? How soon do you need me there? Like, how can I help? And if Michaela's response is, no, I just want you to come to the hospital, take a look at our new lobby. We just did some renovations at it, and I think it's really cool. I'm not going to drop everything I'm doing to go to the hospital. But if Michaela calls me and says, hey, Bruce, I'm pretty sure that one of your friends is in the hospital. He keeps mentioning your name, but he's kind of incoherent. He just got into a car accident and we can't find any medical emergency on him. Like, can you come to the hospital? Like, he keeps saying Bruce Crowley, like, I need you to get here because it's a life or death situation. I'm going to drop everything. I want to save my friend. I want to help out. I know I'm going to an extreme when I talk about motivation, but I need you guys to understand that you will not ever sell somebody's house that doesn't need to sell their house. You'll never have a buyer buy a house that doesn't need to buy a house. Right? Very, 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 very few transactions happen when a seller wants to sell their house or when a buyer wants to buy a house. I know that sounds odd, but very, very few transactions do that. And the reason being is because typically want turns into a need if you ask the right questions and if you understand their situation. So here's that pre-qualification questionnaire. Alicia, let's tackle that for you. You should, when you onboarded, have gotten a welcome to productivity coaching type of email with all of our links. If you don't, I want you to save this. There's my chat. I want you to go ahead and copy and paste this into your browser, save this Google Drive, and this has all of our resources. I'll also precurse with you guys. I don't expect you guys to go through here and run through everything and know exactly where everything's at. All right, but I do expect you guys, when you need something, let's say, Bruce, I'm really struggling. I really need, to understand how to, get better with my time blocking. I want you guys to go through some of these headings here and see, is there any resources out there that you guys can pick apart, look at, and then give me a call to maybe discuss it? Or if you can't find what you're looking for, give me a shout. It's probably in here, and I'm happy to walk you through it. For accountability and tracking. This is what you guys want to do, or use some of these things to make sure you guys keep yourselves in alignment. Right? We talked about this, or I sent it out the other day. 100-point checklist. If you're struggling with doing the activities necessary for the day, this makes it a game. You want to get to 100 points. So you want to go through here. How can I get to 100 points? Go do those activities, get to 100 points every single day. Your business will start to thrive. I love this one, bold memory jogger. All right, a lot of people say, I don't have that big of a database. Go through these questionnaire and see who is in your database that you don't yet have in command, because there's tons and tons and tons of questions that will start to make you think, ooh, I don't have that person in my life. I need to probably go find that person. Might be a good person for my database, as well as just life events that happen. Here's another tracking sheet. Anyways, lots of resources in here. The folder that we were in was in sellers. We were just in this guy. I have a seller now. What? These checklists that kind of look the same right here, these all came from Tom Ferry. So Tom Ferry is a huge real estate coaching company. It's not a brokerage, it's just a coaching company. Multiple agents that I know coach with Tom Ferry, and I pretty much download all their free stuff. And I've got these beautiful checklists, I think from Jenny Hart one time. There's also an example seller listing guide in here. Take a look, see what you think as you develop yours. COVID advisor, we can probably get rid of that. But. Does that help, Alicia? Any other questions around that drive file?
No, yeah, that helps. Thank you. I may, if I can't find that email, I may ask for it because I can't quite see the address in the browser there because it's small.
Oh, it should be in the chat box.
Oh,
So,
got it. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, anytime you guys, I absolutely 100% believe in the philosophy. People need to be reminded far more often than we ever need to be instructed. So please do not feel bad about asking me where this Google Drive file is at 4 or 5 different times. When we get to 3 or 4 times, we're gonna have a little coaching conversation about organization and bookmarking things. But again, ask me all the time. Don't care. I understand there's tons and tons of things out there for you guys. I've got a lot of it in my head. Just ask away. Determine their motivation to sell so you can speak to it. All right, I want to teach you guys to ask. When you guys ask for business and somebody raises their hand and says it, you have to go deep. You have to go deep. All right. I love the phrase that I just learned. I just learned this phrase a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago. We want to make sure we scuba dive and not snorkel with our leads. You need to go deep. So I think Michaela was on here. Did I pick on you last time we went 3 questions deep?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm not picking on Michaela today.
No,
She's got you got COVID.
I know it sucks. I'm feeling better though. Just tired.
Tired. All right. Well, yeah. I'm gonna stop picking on you after this part, maybe.
You can pick on me all you want.
All right. So let's go 3 questions deep. Let me show you guys the difference between snorkeling and scuba diving. So Michaela, hey, I appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate Jarrett sent you over to me. Jarrett's an awesome guy, and a decent friend of mine, and somebody that I really appreciate sent me your way. So he tells me that you're thinking about selling your home in the future. Tell me a little bit more about that, Michaela.
Yeah, so looking to list my house in a year. So I don't know where I'm going to move yet, though. I don't know if I can afford the next one.
Okay, perfect. You see how that question created a very surface level answer, right? A lot of agents will say, "Oh, fantastic, Michaela, you're not looking to sell your home in a year. Well, do you have any questions for me today?" I'll tell you what I'm going to follow up with you periodically over the next year. When the time gets ready, we'll be able to start rocking and rolling. Sound good? Great. Yeah. Follow up with you in a month. Something like that is usually what new agents typically know to be true or happen. We're afraid to ask too many questions. I want you guys to feel confident and comfortable to start scuba diving. Michaela, I think that's amazing. I think that's awesome. So what's causing you to think about making this move in about a year?
We have a lot of equity in the house, and we're just not sure if we can afford the next one, but we kind of need the money to pay off some debt and school loans. And so, yeah, just been thinking about it.
Nice. No, and that makes a lot of sense, right? Our market's been going up drastically over the last couple of years. A lot of people are sitting on money in their home that they're not really able to use for their life. And so sometimes we need to pull it out in order to use it. So riddle me this, perfect world scenario. You sell your house, you get a pile of money, you pay off that debt. Are you looking to downsize on square footage of your home? Are you looking to kind of make a lateral move? Or are you looking to make kind of a move up, maybe a bigger property, or maybe some acreage, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I want to get a smaller house, but with more acreage.
A smaller house with more acreage.
So we can add on.
What kind of acreage you sitting on now? Are you like in town or do you have a little bit of space?
Yeah, I'm in town and I have no backyard.
No backyard. Gotcha. What
Mhm.
city do you live in?
Fort Collins.
Fort Collins? Right on.
Mhm.
Right on. Well, let's talk about kind of time frame. I know you said about a year, but you're also, don't have any place in mind. Um, Realistically speaking, when you say a year, are you talking about like next September you'd be thinking about doing this?
Maybe like starting of the new year.
Starting of the new year. Gotcha.
Yeah, so maybe like start around January, February.
Oh, okay, perfect. I got you. And why do you think why do you think waiting until that time is the right thing for you guys?
Because there might not be as much on the market then, and less inventory means more competition. So yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, no, that makes a ton of sense, Michaela. And I just wanted to just ask that question. Hey, I've got a unique thing, and I know this is our first phone call. I know I'm just a stranger over the phone, but you see, the fact of the matter is that things are still green and lush right now. One of the tricks of the trade that we have in our industry is actually to kind of get started today in a semi way and then put some pause on it, pump the brakes, and then list later. What I'm proposing, Michaela, is that if you wanted to, we could get some photos done now while the greenery is out, right? We can get those photos looking beautiful. So when you decide to list in January, February sometime, those photos will outshine all of the other listings that took photos with, trees with no leaves, no green grass. Sometimes they have, a little bit of snow melt. It just can look pretty bleak in the winter. Would you be opposed to something like that?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good idea. I would love
Gotcha.
to.
Perfect. Perfect. So, I know we're just talking on the phone here. I think it's just time we just set up a time to meet in person. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up a time to meet in person. I've got a lot of the motivation and I'm going to hit more motivation when I get there, you guys. Because if I just take her surface level or her snorkeling level answers, she told me a year. I'm thinking she ain't listing her home until July, August, September timeframe. So in her mind, a year is just next year. In my mind, that's 12 months from now. If I don't ask enough questions, I'm not going to know that. And if I'm a poor agent, I'm going to feel afraid to follow up with Michaela every single month because I'm going to be afraid that I have nothing to say. She's not looking to do this. And so I'm going to go ahead and move to the next phone call or not make my phone call because Michaela's like a year out. I got plenty of time with Michaela. I can follow up with her in a few months, give her a break. Well, she's actually thinking about selling her house in January, February. If I don't follow up with her, another agent will enter her life and will sell that house. We talk about this all the time, you guys. The car script, right? The car script. Jarrett Cosgrove drives an incredible 2017 Tundra. Jarrett, do you notice more Tundras on the road today than you ever have before in your life or before you own that vehicle?
A ton more.
Ton more. It's because it's top of mind, you guys. It's top of mind. When things become top of mind for us, our minds want to seek it and attract it. And so if Michaela is a true seller lead and is thinking about selling her house in January, February of next year, and I do not stay in front of her, I'm not top of mind. But because real estate is top of mind, do you know what she starts to see out there, do, interact with? She starts to see more for sale signs. She might start to get a little panicky. She might think that there's more for sale signs in her neighborhood than she's ever seen before. And she might be thinking, I might miss the bar on this. I need to get my home listed well before. Gosh, what was that guy's name that I talked to? I can't remember. Well, he said he'd give me a shout. So I guess if he doesn't give me a call in the next couple of weeks, like, I guess I got to find another agent because I don't remember him and I didn't save his phone number. Or they go to a dinner party and Michaela's all excited for my conversation. She goes to a dinner engagement and she starts talking to people at this dinner party. Yeah, actually, we're thinking after the holidays, we might be looking to sell our house. oh, really? My agent was so awesome. And, he always, does things for us. And gosh, we just went to this place and that place with him. You should probably give my agent a call and see what he can do for you. Most people will say, no, I've already kind of talked to some guy, but honestly, I'm kind of waiting for him to call me back. Yeah, give me your seller's or your agent's name and phone number, because if he doesn't call me back, I'll probably give them a shout. You see how something top of mind, you guys, can start to play into seller or buyer leads to the point where they will do business with other people. Patrick McClintock and I have been working methodically on his business for the past several months. He's made a commitment to engage with me once a week as well as daily with his numbers. So every single day, Patrick has to text me how many contacts he made for the day. Every single day. And in this process, I've made him call all of his old leads. Every single lead that he had notes on for a year or more out, I'd say 50% of them have already done business and never actually stuck to the timeline that they told Patrick. Patrick was not following up with these people, and now these people have transacted. And he's kicking himself because he's lost, I think he's up to $85,000 right now in commissions over the last 9 months that he did not follow up with leads to close them. He didn't know their motivation. He didn't go deep enough. He took every answer at a surface level stance, put his notes into the CRM, told himself that he was going to follow up with them. As soon as he looked at his CRM and saw these people said that they were a year or two away from doing what X, Y, and Z. So he stopped calling them because he needed immediate business. And he thought by not calling that person, he could make a different phone call to find immediate business, when immediate business was just sitting right there, and he needed to dive into that motivation. You guys are going to get sick of me saying motivation. And it's because I don't want you guys to fail. I do not want you guys to go surface level with these people. People do business with people they know, love, and trust. And in order to know, love, and trust someone, you must create a relationship. A relationship is not surface level, it's deep. It's a deep understanding of one another. I'm gonna get off my soapbox now. All right.
No, thank you, Bruce. That was super helpful. Because
I hope so.
I
We
feel
all
like I'm
need-
dropping the ball with asking like not enough questions.
All right, let's have a moment here. When you say, I think I'm dropping the ball with not asking the questions, what do you think causes you not in the moment not to? Right now, you're consciously aware that you're not, but what do you feel like happens in the very moment where you're on the phone, where you're there? What do you think?
Well, for me, a lot of it's been marketing myself at my nursing job. So I've been getting a lot of database ads from that, but I feel like when I find a lead, I just kind of feel like you just gave me an aha moment. I do need, like, I have a couple like listing leads and I have a couple buyer leads, and I've been following up with them, but I'm not like asking enough motivation questions to like get like a background of why they want to do things. So yeah, that was just kind of an aha moment for me. I'm going to start really
Good.
digging deep into it because I don't know anyone's motivation really. So,
Okay. I want to give you an intro to that kind of script. Okay. When you call a lead that you recognize, like when you look at a lead, you pretty much are guaranteed to look at it and go, oh crap, everything's been pretty surface level. I can't really answer myself who, what, where, when, and why, and how. If you can't answer those questions on a lead, you don't know enough information. When you have that, I just want you to fall on your sword the very moment that they pick up the phone. You don't have to role play with me, Jarrett. I'm just going to use your name because it's sitting right in front of me. You're going to call that lead up and you're going, hey, Jarrett, it's Bruce. Hey, man, I'm just calling because I just recognized that I failed a little bit here. Or I just recognized that I need to ask you a few more questions. You see, I really want to help you with this process. And there were a few questions that I just needed to ask. You got a couple seconds? you just want to attack it. I failed to ask. I'm falling on my sword. I need to ask you these questions in order to best help you. I don't care what your delivery is. You want to intro with that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then just hit them. And they're so appreciative of it that you guys, I've never, ever once been told that I asked too many questions. One, because I always tell them I'm going to ask them a crap ton of questions. And two, it's because it's always focused on motivation. Motivation makes them act. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. What sellers want most from their agents? Help price the home correctly. Help the seller market their home to potential buyers. Help them sell their home within a specific time frame. And help sellers find ways to fix up the home to sell it for more. I like this chart, you guys. I love this chart because we know as agents that the number one thing that's going to cause a home to sell is what? Price accordingly. Everything will sell in this world if it's listed or priced the right price. Sell the home correctly. We know that that's the number one thing, and only 21% of sellers want us to price the home competitively. That means we have an 80% chance that we're going to get into a dialogue in which we're in a disagreement on where the home should be priced. Do you guys see that? Only 20% of people want us to help them price their home. 80% of people pretty much have an idea of where they're going to price their home, and that's what they're going to price their home at. So we need to be prepared for that. Number two, help the seller market home to potential buyers. Only 20% of people really want that out of an agent because they all know as long as we get it online, we're going to be okay typically. So if only 20% of people want our help with that, that means 80% of people are going to gloss over when we start talking about what we do to market their home. So be careful how long you're starting to talk about marketing the home, and spend more time on pricing the home correctly, because a lot of people don't want you to help them price the home. Help them sell their home within a specific time frame. You guys see it all the time. All right. Maybe you don't see it all the time. This is one thing that I'm getting very sick of with my database and people that I'm interacting with. We were talking about it up here. Oops. Well, I can't find it. Yeah, don't know where it went. Oh, no. Anyways, we talked about people want instant gratification. Speed the lead. We need to call our leads back very, very quickly. It's not uncommon for me to get a call on a Saturday and have a home listed by that following Wednesday. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of energy. And it's amazing to me how the average can be 1 to 3 months for a seller lead. But I get so many calls from people that say, Bruce, we've been thinking about selling our house and we want you to come over this week to take a look and see what you think our home's worth. And then I get to the house, not prepared to list their house. And they tell me that they want to list their house within the next week and that they're almost done with projects and they can take a photographer that Tuesday. It happens a lot, you guys. Be careful with people's time frame. That's why going through motivational questions and asking pre-qualification questions really helps understand exactly what happens. The other thing that you guys can minimize this percentage down to is if you're making quarterly calls to your database, you want to always have that message of, hey, look, I'm calling you today because I love you and I trust you and things are well. And you ask them about how their life's going on. They ask you about how your life's going on. I want you guys to sprinkle in some what do I want to call this? Like mind, can't think of the right word for it. But when I call my database, all right, I will always want them to lead generate through their sphere. So I always tell them, hey, anybody in your life that I can help, I'll be happy to. The other thing that I do with my database is I share with them things I don't want them to do. So if my database says, hey, Bruce, how's it going, man? Like, how's everything going? Business well? Yeah, no, business is well. Actually, kind of a crazy one for me. You see, last week, somebody called me out of the random blue sky, and I've been busy getting their home listed because they called me and they wanted the home listed like within the next 3 days. It's a pain for me. Like, I'll tell you, man, if you ever decide to list your home, or you know of anybody that's thinking about listing their home, I will tell you they need to start engaging with myself or another agent, at least a couple of weeks before they need their home to hit the market, because it's just such a struggle for us to drop everything that we're doing to get that home listed within 3 days, because we always feel like there's so many details and so much less time that we have to spend on the attention for that listing. So yeah, man, I'm glad you asked. I've been super busy with this new listing that I have, but I'm excited. We got it all done. It's going on the market. But I just feel like these guys are rushing the process, and I'm afraid that they're going to have to take less for the home than what they really could get, because their time frame isn't matching what we typically do. So you guys, I sell those types of things to my database. I want them to understand that if they talk to somebody at, the first Broncos game of the season, and that person says, yeah, after the holidays, we're thinking about listing our house. I want my database to be like, oh, dude, you need to give my guy a call, and you need to make sure that you give him a call, well before you actually need to list your home, because, I'm learning from him. There's quite a process to it. So here's my buddy's name and number. You should probably give them a call in December or something. You want your database saying those things for you. And the only way they're going to say those things for you is by you educating them, typically through examples. I'm hitting that hard, because I have 5 listings right now, and 4 out of the 5 listings I had to list within 5 days. And it was a nightmare. And I just feel like there's so many details we're missing. I feel like there's so much prep on the one house that needed to be done, but they don't have the time to do it. They're literally fixing their house as it's on the market and as showings are happening. So now I'm getting feedback like, well, I'm confused as to what's going on in the upstairs master bathroom. It looks like it's being renovated, but it also, is it going to be finished before the home sells? What's going? Just causing things that don't need to happen. All right. Questions, comments, concerns so far? I talked about that with motivation. I'm not going to get back on that soapbox. Build confidence and trust. Got to ask questions. Go deep with people, and that builds a relationship, which builds confidence and trust. 7, close to appointment tactics. All right. Show them the benefits, right? A lot of times, you guys, we have people that know things are coming up in their life, and they want to time up that strategically because they can't think past all of the details. We are the person that's the details. So when I hear show them the benefits, I think of it 2 ways. I bet most of you guys are going to raise your hand and say, when you read that, Bruce is going to talk about show the benefits, you're talking about your marketing plan and show them the benefits of why I'm the better agent for this listing than others. I want you guys to, when you see that, show the benefits, close to appointments tactics. The benefits that I want you guys to think about are why they need to execute today and not tomorrow. So for instance, let's use Michaela's setup here. Michaela is thinking about selling her home in January, February. We already went through this dialogue. I'm going to add a layer on that. I'm going to show you guys why benefits need to be spewed out, why you guys need to understand it's okay to push Michaela into listing today. Let's do a dialogue. Let's role play this a little bit. Michaela, just some short answers are fine. I just want to get through the dialogue and the script so you guys can all understand how I am so effective at getting a seller lead to list before they're ready. So Michaela, hey, I think that's awesome that you're thinking about doing that in January, February. And I know that you said that January, February is the time frame that you think that listing inventory is low And that's the time frame that you might be able to get the most dollar. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Like that time frame you consider to be the time that you're going to net the most amount of money for your home?
I think so. Maybe.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And hypothetically speaking, what do you consider yourself, or what do you think you're going to be walking away with? And I can run some numbers. I'm just kind of curious.
I think we're sitting on like 200,000 in equity right now. Hopefully I can get like 175 profit.
Right on, right on. So if that's the case, and if we were to dive in now, and I'm just, this is hypothetical, Michaela. I haven't even been to your house. I haven't even asked you if you have what your address is at this point. But hypothetically speaking, if you listed your home tomorrow, which is impossible, so again, hypothetical, and I could sell your home and net you about 205 to 210, would that cause you to not wait on selling a home? Because here's what I'm thinking, Michaela. If I can net you the amount of money that you want to net, do you feel like it might be a good time to look for your buy side between now and the end of the year before the hot spring summer hits? Because what I hear you saying is if we can net the most amount of money in January, February, and then we're going to be looking to buy, the next house that's a little bit smaller in square footage, but has some acreage, I think you're going to be in competition with all of the buyers that start to come out of the woodwork in the spring. And so if we can net you the most amount of money that you need today, but have the opportunity to then find a good deal in the fall and winter for the next house that you're looking for, would that be an option for you or no?
Yeah, actually that does sound kind of nice. Because I
Awesome.
don't want to be homeless.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, Michaela, I hate to I feel slimy even asking you or saying that to you, because I feel like I don't want you to think I'm just pushing you to sell your house tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is it's September, and the situation that you're talking to me about, I think we can accomplish or make happen relatively quick. And then, I mean, Michaela, you might be in a new house with better acreage and the home that you want before Christmas. You might be able to have some family fly out or visit you and spend Christmas morning in that house, netting you the most amount of money for your home today, saving you a buck on the buy side, and having all of that done before the new year hits next year. Like, again, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to push you into this, but do you have some time available this Saturday? Like I can come over and maybe do a market analysis and see if this actually is going to work out now over next January, February.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm gonna pause
Saturday
right there, you
works.
guys. That's simply
how
how
it's
I do
done.
it every
That's
single
awesome.
time, and it works. Like it's like clockwork. I want to unravel a little bit, or roll back a little bit, what you're going to call it. I want to get to that point where I say, does that sound okay? And I want Michaela to say no. So let's pretend that person says, no, I think we're still going to stick to January, February. Oh, okay. No, I think that's awesome, Michaela. There must be a question I'm not asking then. So if we could net you the amount of money that you need today for your home, but you're not willing to do it until January, there's something else that's causing you to think about January, February. What might that be? Well, we were talking to our tax attorney, and he said that if we're going to make these types of moves, we got to do it next year versus this year for tax reasons. Or, well, actually, I love that you asked that. I actually need to have knee replacement surgery, and so I want to do that during the winter and fall months so I can be laid up and just do that. And then once I'm healed and recovered for the holidays, we'll get started after the holidays. Or, yeah, actually, that's a good question. I guess I don't really know why I'm so stuck. Don't you think I'm going to net more money in the spring when there's less inventory? Well, you could net more money then, and you could net more money now. You see, I don't like to leave things by chance. The fact of the matter is that when you say that there's less inventory in the January, February months, if there's a bunch of people that are thinking about selling their home that are all thinking the same things, what would happen in January, February if you waited, and next thing you know, our market's saturated with inventory? thus meaning the supply and demand is so high that you actually are not going to net the most amount of money. You see, this market right now that we're in, we know we are in a seller's market. I can show you all the data and statistics that tell us we have a listing shortage right now. And because of a listing shortage, we're getting sellers the most amount of money for their homes today. And I just don't have a crystal ball to show us that in the future. If you want to wait till January, February, I'm happy to do so. My job is to educate you on everything. And the fact of the matter is I can tell you exactly what's going on today, but I can't tell you that your strategy and game plan is going to be foolproof come January, February. And honestly, the main reason for that too is our sales start to spike in March and April. So that means buyers that get started next year, they usually get started after the holiday, but they don't actually start to go under contract and transact until about February, March, to then close in March or April. So if we got listed too early, I'm afraid there might not even be enough buyers out there. But right now we know there are buyers everywhere. The agents that I coach, they're all doing open houses and there's mass amounts of buyer leads that are happening. We also know that we are at an inventory shortage, which is causing homes to appreciate at a level, not like we've seen in the past, year, but we're seeing things appreciate at such a high level, even with our market correcting. So anyways, food for thought for you. If you want, I want to give you a few hours, maybe a day to think on it. And if Saturday doesn't work out for you and you really want to push it into January, February, I'm happy to do that too. So I'll give you a shout tomorrow and follow up and see if you have any other thoughts around what we talked about today. Again, not trying to push you into everything, just giving you a lot to think about. So hope you have a great day. Talk to you soon, blah, blah, blah. You guys see that? You guys smell that? Understand what I'm doing?
Smell it.
Good. Good. All right. I truly do that. If any of you know me, I'm very much I'm a Christian. I have a lot of morals and ethics. I love when somebody says, "Well, Bruce, you're just kind of sleazy. Like you're always pushing your leads into doing things now." Morally and ethically, the time is now. Every single graph I've ever seen with the way our market is, everything appreciates. If a seller wants to sell today over the spring, I don't know what the spring looks like. The last thing I want to do is be the agent that just takes everything at a surface level stance and says, yeah, your plan makes sense. I'll give you a call in a few. And then all of a sudden, these next couple of months, our market just continues to correct or start to tank or start to shift. And then January, February hits, and I got to have the conversation with Michaela that says, Michaela, I'm really sorry. Like, I know we had this plan, but since we talked last September, the value of your home has actually corrected about $25,000 to $50,000. And so it looks like your home is now worth this. Are we still looking to sell this house? Morally and ethically, you guys, I don't want to have that conversation. So I'd rather just give them all of the food for thoughts around January, February, and all of the known thoughts around the market that we're in today. Let them make that decision, because if Michaela says, Bruce, I appreciate everything you like, I call Michaela tomorrow. Michaela, I'm just touching base. How was everything last night? Do you have any questions for me? Yep, we thought about it a lot. And, I think it just makes more sense to wait until after the holidays. We're going to go ahead and take that chance that the market's doing better and that our plan is in action. Hey, great. I really appreciate you guys coming to that conclusion. You know me, I'm going to continue to follow up with you just to make sure if you have any questions, you can lay them on me. And then let's get started, maybe sit down mid-December to work on that game plan for January, February. I'm going to leave it be. And I've got no quorums about them listing later, nothing. And then in the spring, if that happens, I'm going to say, hey guys, what's going on? It's Bruce. Hey, or I'm sorry, December. Hey, I think it's time we need to meet up. But before we meet up, we got to just go over some things, right? Do you have a couple of minutes? And I'm going to talk about the market. Hey, in the last couple of months, we've seen things drastically correct and drop. According to my analytics and according to what I'm seeing in the market, if we listed your home in January, February, I feel like we're only going to be able to list it at X. And I apologize because I was really hoping for your guys' plan to work out, because I think it's a solid plan. Month over month, year over year, we appreciate. Just in these last couple of months, we didn't. So let's go ahead and meet up. And so I don't have any quorums about it, right? They chose it. I've got to give them the facts that things happened and we move forward. Or I could call Michaela and say, things are working out well. My gosh, you guys timed up the market perfectly. I'm glad you guys didn't take my advice on listing in the fall, because things are actually picking up pretty good. And I think you're going to net more money today than you were last September. Ahas, questions, comments, concerns. We'll get off the soapbox and get on. Okay. Take back close, take back. We talked about this in the buyer thing, you guys. A take back close is where you show them that you're willing to work with them, but you're not 100% sure it'll still work out. It depends on what they tell you. So a take back close is very similar to, hey, Michaela, we need to sit down, we need to meet at your house, and we need to go over, my marketing strategy and what the home, we think would price for. At that time, we'll decide if I'll decide and you'll decide if I'm the right agent for you, and I'll decide if you're the right listing that my business wants to take. Make sense? So a take back close is basically like, I will work with you, but I also might not work with you. I'm gonna take back everything that I say. I'm going to tell you that this is a mutual understanding. We both have to agree to work together. Negative positive close. I call it the sandwich method. So I like the positive, negative, positive, but let's just stick with what Ignite calls it, a negative positive close. I did it with Michaela a few times, right? I showed her some negative points around why waiting until the spring might be bad for her. And then I followed up with something positive around, look, we know what today looks like. Today, I have certainty on what I think your home would sell for. I'm showing her some positive thoughts around why today works versus waiting until January, February. Give them what they're looking for, right? I have a better example on a buyer lead. A buyer lead wants to go out and look at houses before they're pre-approved. I'll give them what they're looking for. Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, in order to buy a house, we're definitely going to need to be pre-approved, but I understand that you're still feeling me out, man. I understand that you're still making sure that I'm the right agent for you. So I'll tell you what, we can go out one day, a maximum of 3 houses before you get your lending in order. So that way, we can see how looking at homes goes and taking a look, and who knows, you might fall in love with something and you can get pre-approved right away and maybe take that. So give them what they're looking for, even though they're putting the cart in front of the horse. Just put some definitions and parameters around it. For a seller, give them what they're looking for. Price. I think that's price. Give them what they're looking for. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know you guys want to list it at $725, and I'm happy to list it at $725. I just want to make sure we understand that all of my data and my research and past sold property shows your house is probably worth more like $650 to $675, but I don't think $725 is that far off. So I'm happy to take your listing. But when push comes to shove and you need to be to, Kentucky before March of next year, are you going to be willing to maybe reduce price down to where I think it'll sell? Great. If we're all both on the same page, let's move forward. Right. Trial close, assumptive close, tie downs. Like we talked about last week, trial and assumptive closes. It's going to be more of, hey, I think, we've pretty much talked through everything. Don't you think the next steps are that we meet? Right? You're not saying, okay, well, do you have time on Saturday or Sunday to meet? I don't like trial and assumptive closes, you guys. If you guys want the business, go for the business. All right. Assumptive and trial closes should only ever happen when you're still fear-based, when you're still a new agent and you're still kind of not confident that you can just lay the hammer down. Michaela, I think we've gone through everything. I have some time available Saturday at noon. Is that a good time for me to show up? Versus, hey, Michaela, it was great talking with you. I feel like we should probably set up a time to meet, don't you? Okay,
Yeah.
great. How does Saturday work at noon? Right? Don't Don't do assumptive or trial closes. If it makes sense to close the appointment, close the appointment. A tie down. Tie down are basically questions at the end of statements that cause people to think. All right. Causes people to think. I use it on you guys a lot. I use it on my clients. I use it with my family and my friends. Whenever I want to have a conversation with somebody and I find that that person is losing attention or they're not paying attention, I'll ask them a question, right? A tie down basically says a statement followed by a question. An example I'll give you is, doesn't that make sense? You see how that works? So make a statement and then follow up with a question. The question will cause their mind to jog. And then when that mind jogs, they're much more open to things, and then ask for the appointment. Questions on that? All right. Questions versus objections. When a question is asked, answer it. When an objection comes up, address it. You guys, who controls the conversation is the person asking the questions. So you guys want to make sure that a bunch of your buyer and seller consultations asks a bunch of questions. When you ask questions, you control the conversation. But let's face it, you need to be ready for them to ask you questions. You also really need to know the difference between a question and objection. Bruce, is that all you can do for me on commission? Sounds like a question to some, and to others it sounds like a commission objection. We don't know until we know how to address it or answer it, right? So Bruce, you know, I see what you're saying with that 6%. Is there anything better you can do for me, man, on that? No. Actually, I'm at 6%. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's just get started. I had to ask, you know. Okay, cool. Let's get started. That's a question, right? Hey, Bruce, is there anything that you can do for me on commissions? No, actually 6% is what I do. Yeah. Oh, okay, really? Because, you know, I just gotta be honest with you, Bruce. You know, I have talked to another agent, and, you know, they pretty much said they would do it for 4% right off the rip. Oh, 4%. Okay, great. Now I got to address it, right? It's not a question now. Now it's more of an objection. It was a question at first, but now he's giving me like, hey, I need you to do something for me because I got somebody else that's willing to do it. Are you willing to match them? Right? I need to address it. Hey, Mr. Maselli, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, if somebody's willing to, you know, cut money out of their family's mouths and out of their lives, I have to ask you, is that the agent that you want negotiating, you know, on behalf of your money? If they're willing to reduce their commission down to that far just to get your listing, what kind of conversation do you think they're going to have with the potential buy side around your money? They're going to want to sell the house quick, even if it costs you some dollars, because they weren't willing to negotiate and fight for your dollar. You see, I'm going to fight for my every penny, and my business does 6%. And I'm going to do the same for you and your money, especially knowing that when you go with me, you have the opportunity to go with somebody at a steeper discount. Because of that, you're going to see all of Bruce come out, all of the stops. You guys see the difference there? Be careful mistaking a question as an objection. Don't get defensive by any means. Remain calm, cool, and collective, right? I'm basically still telling that person, hey, look, if you want to go with that agent that's going to discount their commission, go with them. I don't understand why you would do that. But I'm not saying, oh gosh, yeah, we got another agent like that out there. These agents are ruining our industry, and they're just squeezing everything out of agents like myself. You see, if I don't do this for 6%, then you're not going to have professional photos or drone shots. You're not going to have this. I'm not going to have a budget to go. Don't get on the defensive. Make sure you understand if it's an objection or a question. And if it's just a question, just answer it. No, I don't do less than 6%. When you realize it's an objection, absolutely understand how to control the conversation, ask them some questions, and make sure you articulate well why your stance is your stance. Make sense? Ha, I just used a tie down. I didn't even realize it. Makes sense? That's a tie down. All right, pre-listing packet. Pre-listing packet. I don't know why this E to P thing is here. Let's go ahead and I guess we'll just start with it. E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful. Entrepreneurial to purposeful. This is, so there's 6 personal perspectives. We're going to probably start introducing more of those in the team meetings, and we'll do a segment on those. But out of the 6 personal perspectives, E to P is Bruce's favorite. I love E to P. E to P is what in my mind says I did to break through my barriers, to break through my mindset and the business that I have today, which is where it got me, right? E is your natural entrepreneurial self. When you get your license, sometimes, and I don't know if I've done this with all of you guys, but some of you guys, when you first interacted with me, I tested you guys in your entrepreneurial state. You've seen me ask a lot of you guys, hey, I just want you to answer me this question. If somebody were to come up to your life and tell you and ask you, hey, how's the market, Jarrett? I like to feel how you guys answer. I want to know where your entrepreneurial state is, so I know how to best help you with scripts down the road. So E is just what you naturally know, what you're pre-programmed with. You have no knowledge and no basis around where you're headed. P is purposeful. Purposeful, right? Basically, those are the people that I say, hey, if somebody asks you how the market is, what would you say? That agent that really wants to get dirty real quick in their career will say things back to me like, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know what would be right or wrong. Can you tell me? Can you help me? They don't even take a stab at it. Their brains want to know the best way to do it, so they don't ever taint themselves around the wrong habits or the wrong ways. They're still entrepreneurial, not purposeful. We got to go through the system. We got to go through the game plan. Number 1, focus. Number 2, models. 3, systems, and 4, breakthroughs. Focus, model, and systems. You guys have to have it. I know that you guys are hearing it from Mark in team meetings. You're hearing it from Harry and Claudia and I. The reason why we harp on this is because I'm not seeing a lot of you guys focus and pay attention to the models and systems. We have a tracking sheet that goes out every week now. And I know there's a lot of you guys still getting used to it. And there's some people on here that have done it every single week since we've rolled it out. But again, this week, we had 7 people fill out the weekly tracking sheet out of 117 people that it was sent to.
I never received it.
You didn't this week? Ooh, I'm glad you're saying it.
No.
I thought you still filled it out though.
Yeah, this last week.
I don't think I got
missed.
one either this week. Let me double check.
Well, we'll find that later.
Yeah, but I just wanted to let you know.
No, I appreciate that. I'm gonna write down his names down right now, because I actually got it this week because I told Claudia to set me up on it. So
I got it this week as well.
you got it or you didn't, Augustine?
I did get it.
Okay, yeah, there's something wrong then. So Liz didn't get it. Michaela didn't get it. All right, no, I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And I want you to know I'm not harping on you. What I'm really wanting you to do is know that I'm not trying to be lecturing. I want to see you guys succeed. Any one of you that has sat down with me on a one-on-one knows I won't stop with you. If you reach in and pour into me, I'll pour into you. I want you guys to succeed. So I might sound a little lectury here, but in order to advance your career, in order to advance your business to the place that I'm in and have the fortunate place to be in, I get to sell real estate at a high level and spend 40 to 50 hours a week coaching. And it's only because I decided 9 months into my career to get really, really dirty. My focus was so high after 9 months. Every day I was pissed off at myself if my day didn't get started the minute I told myself my day was going to get started. And that was 8 a.m. for me. I changed to 7 a.m. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. The focus has to be there. The models and systems, that's where the numbers comes into place. Can somebody give me what's the difference in your mind between models and systems? They sound the same, right? Like at a base level, when I saw this, I thought it sounded the same, really a lot the same. But there is a pretty good difference between a model and a system.
Would a model be more so like a rubric that you can follow, like a checklist, and then a system is actually you putting that into play with your scripts and everything else kind of together?
Exactly. Exactly. A model is basically the blueprints, the playbook, right? So if I'm just going to use IKEA as an example. All right, you get this IKEA thing and there's 150,000 pieces and you get the instructions out. The instruction is the model. The system in which you use your hands to turn the screws, the knobs, the dowels, the whatever it is, that's the system. Does that help kind of define those two things? So what we do every day as coaches and leadership is we help you guys get into model. It's your decision whether you use your right hand or left hand to screw in the bolt. Does that make sense? So you can't screw in the bolt with your right hand or your left hand until you know why you're screwing in that bolt. So maybe people aren't filling out their tracking sheet because they just don't yet believe that it's a numbers game. I say that with all terms of endearment because I was that guy. I kept saying, this is bullcrap. Like, I can talk to 100 people and get nothing. And then I can talk to another 100 people and I can get 17 different leads. So these numbers are bullcrap. It just depends on who you talk to.
Hey, Bruce, I think we lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
One of my earbuds died. So maybe that's why people don't fill it out. Maybe it's another chore. Maybe I need your guys' input on the email needs to come out at a different time, or maybe the subject line needs to be different. Again, maybe it's just simply because you just haven't seen the numbers work. But anyways, I digress on the tracking sheet. We need to get heavily focused on our business. All right, what do you think focus really truly means on a day-to-day basis? All right, let me just call some people out here. The moment that Ignite ends, what will you be doing the rest of the day, Jarrett? Don't look at your calendar. Tell me what you're doing the entire rest of your day. I hope I'm not making you sweat too much.
All right, no, I was on mute. I will be cold calling. I have a panel and then cold calling after that.
Okay, so hypothetically speaking, Bruce ends at 11. From 11 to what time will you be cold calling?
11 to 1 o'clock, I will be cold calling. From 1 to 2, I'll be at lunch. From 2 to 3, I'll be here in the office. From 3 to 5, I will be calling.
Okay, you guys, Jarrett focused. He has a very heavy focus on his day. He looked at his day either this morning before he got started or yesterday when he went to bed. He has a high level of focus. Now, while he's doing the lead generation activities, he needs to follow a model. So when he says I'm cold calling from 11 to 1, I
You
need him.
want to know the model that I'm calling? Because,
Go ahead. Yeah.
oh yeah, sorry. Well, so from my, I guess, yeah, my model is I'm calling expireds. And then, so I'll be calling through my expireds list. If I run out of expireds list through that time, I'm gonna get on my text campaign. So I have 2 campaigns that I can sign, like as a model that I can run for that specified amount of time that I know I can stay busy.
Okay. That's the system you're using.
Ah,
I like this. That's perfect. You hit the nail on the head. That's the system you're using. Let me share with you the model that I hope Jarrett uses in conjunction with the lead generation system he's going to do. The model is lead generation time means that I am only effectively lead generating when my fingers are dialing a phone number or I'm talking or leaving a voicemail to somebody. So from 11 to 1, Jarrett has to write down all of his notes on a notepad or type it into a system, and he will not enter anybody into command as a new contact during that time block. Because if he takes this, the moment he ends a phone call, stops and gets into command to enter that contact in, he has fallen out of model because he told himself he was lead generating during that time. And he now took 5 minutes to put in this contact. So now a 2-hour time block of lead generation turns into an hour and 55 minutes.
yeah, Bruce, I wanted to touch on that because like in Bold, the coach was saying, one of our more fantastic cold callers, lead generators would spend 2 hours a day and was hitting X amount of contacts and couldn't really break that ceiling. And so this particular agent had a coach. The coach said, well, why don't you get one of the chess clocks that you can tap to start when you actually start dialing, and then tap it once you're done dialing. And so what happened was she found out, okay, through those 2 hours, really the effective actually on the phone was like 20 minutes or something,
Yep.
not even close to it. And so really like being able to look at it from that point of view and try to scale it down and say, okay, well, how can I be more effective? Because yeah, if I stop to go and put a contact into command, then all of a sudden I'm losing an extra 5 minutes to where I could have possibly dialed 3 phone numbers, So I completely understand that. Like I can sit in front of my computer, but like all of a sudden I get like, that the squirrel looking for a nut syndrome. And I just want to do all sorts of different stuff other than dial.
Exactly. Jarrett, thank you so much for that. And since you're taking Bold, let me share with you one of my favorite Bold laws. I kind of like all of them, but one that hits me home is don't mistake movement for achievement. Don't mistake movement. That's exactly what that exercise does. I love that chess thing. That's amazing because that's how people start to realize, holy crap. I told myself I was doing everything I could possibly do in business, but the reality is that I am not. Good. But I love this example, you guys, models versus systems. You guys see that? The system he's using is a phone to call expireds. That's the system. The model is that it's lead generation. The lead generation model says no time spent outside of dialing, leaving a voicemail, or having a conversation is lead generation. So every single moment and second that passes that one of those 3 things are not happening, he is not lead generating. So virtually impossible to lead generate for 2 hours from 11 to 1. It's impossible to lead generate for 120 or 160 minutes. You will always have minute pauses everywhere you go. For the folks in the room that thought, Jesus, Bruce, get off your soapbox. It's 5 minutes. I put in a contact for 5 minutes. I'm still lead. It's only 5 minutes. Well, do that 4 times in a 2-hour time block, and that's 20 minutes. do that 4 days a week, and then 52 weeks out of the year, and now tell me that 5 minutes doesn't count. It's the same exact additive. I hope I'm not picking on too many people here. I'm kind of guilty of this too. But it's the same additive for the people that don't have enough savings in their savings account. But every single day before work or after work, they drive to the gas station to buy the $1.50 pop, when they easily could go to the grocery store, buy a 12-pack, put it at their house, and grab one on their way out the door for 50 cents a pop. That's how minute your focus has to be in this business. If your focus isn't that exact, to the point where you recognize 5 minutes today, or I'm sorry, 20 minutes today times 4 days a week times 52 weeks in a year is a ton of time that you're missing out on your business. If you don't see it that way, your focus isn't strong enough to really break through. And I hate that I'm stabbing some people in the chest right now. I apologize, but I also want to see you guys succeed. The best thing that I ever did to in my entire life and in my entire career was get really dirty with myself. Looked myself in the mirror and recognized 20 minutes a day wasting time on entering somebody into command when I told myself I was lead generating is massive amounts of hours over the year. When I looked myself in the face and I recognized that, then I read the MREA. Then did I make sure I went back through the leads listing leverage model, the budget model, all the models that are in that damn book. I went back through, highlighted, created them, checklists. I spent hours at night. Wife and kid go to sleep. Bruce is getting up from 10 to 11 just to focus on how this model works. Why is it like that? And then what kind of system am I going to use? Please, you guys, get dirty with yourselves. I'm begging you and I'm asking you. Do it and you will see all of the fruits that this world has to offer. You will be able to do things beyond your wildest dreams. Beyond your wildest dreams. And you won't care how much it costs. I promise you. If you want that world, focus first. Really nitty gritty with yourself. I think we can move on. Pre-listed packing goals. All right. So what's a pre-listing packet? Let's go over some basics here. Some agents will do what's called a pre-listing packet. Pre-listing. So it happens before the listing appointment. So some people will hand deliver a pre-listing packet. Some people will mail the pre-listing packet. And some people will email the pre-listing packet. I don't use a pre-listing packet. What I do is I do a pre-listing consultation. So when I get a lead, I will spend about 30 to 45 minutes on the phone with the lead. And I'm going to ask them all of the pre-qualification questions to make sure that setting an appointment is probably the right thing to do. That's just what I do. But I know everything there is to know about pre-listing packets. If you're going to do a pre-listing packet, whether it's mail, drop off by hand or email, what you're really doing is you're setting yourself up for success at your listing appointment. I want to say that again. You're setting yourself up for success at the listing appointment. So it's not the listing packet. It's a pre-listing packet. All right. It talks about the market. Here's what's happening in our market right now. Here's where you can start to sell things like, look, almost 40% of every listing in Boulder County last month had price reductions, which tells us that our market's correcting and that sellers are now shooting themselves in the foot for overpricing their home. If I have some sort of message like that in my pre-listing packet and my sellers read it, when I get to the table and I do my listing presentation, I don't have to necessarily overcome so much of the pricing objection. And if I do, it's not that I have to overcome it. I need to make sure I articulate what they must have misinterpreted in the pre-listing packet, and then it's their decision. If they want to list high, they list high. And if they list high and it doesn't sell, then Bruce is perfectly fine with having a price reduction conversation because I set the expectation up front. You can have multiple different things in there. So if you guys are building checklists and you guys want to build a pre-listing checklist, I like to use a few things for sure. The market, what's the market doing? You can do it where it's the city and their subdivision, city only. I don't really love to do just their subdivision. That doesn't actually paint a picture of the market. That paints a picture of their subdivision, right? That doesn't tell you everything there is to know about that city that they're in. So market information, buyer sellers market, days on market, list to sales price ratio averages, price reduction percentages month over month. Those are some real awesome basic stats for market that you can put in your pre-listing packet in order to help you with pricing the home. How can you say, how else can we save ourselves time at the house? So I'm giving you guys a lot of food for thoughts. I'm going to jump back for a second. I want you guys to really think about, what does your listing presentation look like? I'm going to get to the house. I'm going to go through the home. I'm going to sit down with the buyer or the seller, and I'm going to go through the selling process with them. Once I go through the selling process with them, I'm going to review contracts. So if I know my flow for my presentation, then I know exactly what I need to have in my pre-listing packet. I walk through the home. What am I doing when I walk through the home? I'm looking at the condition of the home. So in my pre-listing packet, I'm going to have things like, hey, 10 steps to make your home photo and show ready. Paint, touch up the baseboards, clean the ceiling fans. Like, I'm going to have things that I find online. Okay, well, that's walking through the house. Now, next, I'm going to talk about the selling process and pricing the home. Well, I just told you what I would put in my thing about the market, so it helps me price the home. What can I put in my pre-listing packet that helps me with the sales process, the actual process? I can talk to them about things such as, hey, when showings happen, you're going to need to vacate the home. We're going to make sure that trusted, licensed real estate agents are showing buyers while you're out of your home. We use an online showing service that's actually going to text you when somebody wants to request a showing. Here's how it works. So you see in your pre-listing packet, you're not giving everything away. You're just using things that they can read that are going to help them understand how things are going to work. That's going to save you time. The best thing that you ever do is walk into a home and the sellers have a paintbrush and paint can in their hand. And they're like, we're really sorry, we just finished up with the baseboards. They read my pre-listing packet. They saw that that's one of the #1 things that a seller can do that costs very little money that makes a home look so much better. I don't know if you guys knew that, but repainting your baseboards or touching up your baseboards will make a lot of the grime that's accumulated over the years kind of go away. Baseboards get dusty and dirty. They get beat up, they get bumped, they get bruised. But when you live at your house, you don't notice it. For everybody on here on Ignite, every agent watching, I encourage you to go to your house and really look at your home through the eyes of a stranger, a buyer. How much grime, grease, dirt, nicks, things do you have on your baseboards and your doors that will start to drive you nuts because Bruce just told you?
A lot. Hey Bruce, I actually have a quick question. So I have a potential listing. It's actually my client I already have under contract as a buyer. She just got engaged to this guy and he has a house in Wellington that he wants to possibly sell. But he was telling me all the stuff he wants to do to his house. He wants to get solar panels installed. And then he also wants to take out a HELOC on his home to pay for all the fix-ups. And I I didn't know like how to word that, but I did send him a Keller Williams blog about like how solar probably isn't the best thing to purchase right before you sell. And I was trying to like aim him in the right direction. Like that's more so for like your forever home, you know, something that you want to stay at for a while so you can actually see the money coming in from it. It might be a waste of your money. But like, how would you word that to a client?
Yeah, very good question. Michaela, I really appreciate that question. You see, I'm going to heavily advise against the solar panel situation for a number of reasons. But before I don't want to like, you know, poo on your ideas. What were your thoughts around putting solar in before you sell it? Are you feeling like it's going to add value to your home? And they're
Yeah,
going to say,
so
well, yeah,
that's exactly what he told me. Yeah. And I asked
yeah.
him that question.
No, hey, and that's a great, that's fantastic. You see, I've worked and I know a lot of different appraisers. And see, an appraiser is the one who creates and looks at what the home is worth for the buyer's loan. And I can tell you that those solar systems and those solar panels do not make a darn bit of difference to those folks. The only people that find value in solar panels are the buyers that want solar panels. So let me give you some data and I'll show you some statistics because I don't know if you know this, but about less than 20% of all homes have solar panels. So that means that the demand for solar panels in our world isn't as high as you might think, which is why they don't get the value from an appraiser. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would heavily encourage you not to put solar panels on if you want to. I'm just here to tell you and set expectations that I don't believe you're going to get dollar for dollar out of them. You might get a little bit of value for it, but if you spend $30,000 on a solar system, I can assure you that your home will not sell for $30,000 more than it's worth without them. That's how direct I am with that, Michaela, because I
Okay,
can assure
cool.
them that
Yeah.
everything says that.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah.
I just
and,
get-
and also, how would you go about, so he wants to take out a HELOC on his house to do some repairs, like fix the furnace. Well, if he does that, he wouldn't really have any equity left in the house to sell it.
Yeah,
Right?
and
So
that's
how would you go about telling him like maybe just sell as is or do minor touch-ups and not
Yeah,
take
what
out a
I-
HELOC?
what I always tell people is no, because I actually think it's a great idea and a bad idea all at the same time, because it depends on what he's putting the money into. The rule of thumb in real estate is if you're not putting the money into things that people can see and use, then you're putting the money in the wrong places. So if you have an old furnace, but it works, but you think that your home will sell for more because it has a brand new furnace, not going to happen, because people don't look at furnaces to live in their home. They just want heat. So a furnace that is at its middle of the road versus new still heats the house. So there's no more value to a brand new furnace than there is in a buyer's eyes, a brand new furnace to a middle of the age furnace. But Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you're thinking about taking a HELOC out to replace some of the kitchen countertops and maybe paint or reface the cabinetry, yes, all day long. But I want you to do it, and I want you to do it on the cheap. Remember, a $2,000 piece of granite is worth the same amount as a $10,000 piece of granite to the buyer's eyes as well as the appraiser's eyes. So if you're going to pull out a HELOC and you're going to update some things, I don't want you to go super, super high end. Now, I don't want you to put in Formica. I'd like to see you put in granite or quartz, but I don't want you to put in top of the line granite or quartz. Does that make sense? Here, I'll tell you what, we should probably meet up at your house and let's go through everything you're thinking about updating. And let me help you figure out what kind of material we're going to use. I don't want you taking down perfectly good kitchen cabinets to put up new white ones. I want you to rub acetone on them and I want you to paint them white. I want you to take the old brass hardware off and I want you to replace it with oil rub bronze or satin nickel. So that's how I go through it with them.
Perfect. I will totally do that. Thank you.
Yep. So a pre-listing packet just has points that help you during your listing consultation. I will tell you that most new agents will benefit from a pre-listing packet because you don't know how to talk around all of those points. So let graphics and print material basically paint pictures and help explain things that you're not yet good at with your words. If you have questions or need help with a pre-listing packet, we have our coach, Miss Claudia, who is our contracts, buyer and seller presentation guru. She is the one who reviews contracts. I just saw an agent email me a contract. I'm not going to be able to get to it till about 4 o'clock tonight. So I hope that that agent starts to email Claudia. But she will help you with your pre-listing packet. That's why we hired her. She is a master at these types of things. But she also will give you the free will to develop your own. But she'll help you, okay? Will you preview it on the pre-listing pack? I don't remember reviewing this slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, these are some of the questions we already answered. Will you review it on your listing presentation? No, do not review the pre-listing packet. Okay, that's just going to cause you more time. There's really no reason why you send it if you're just going to review it again. What I do is if you're doing a pre-listing packet, you just ask them if they have any questions about it before you get started, and then you kind of tackle some of them. If like for me, I don't do a pre-listing packet, I do a pre-listing phone consultation. So I don't review everything that we went over on the phone. I might hit some bullet points, but I'm going to ask them, is there anything from our phone conversation that you've thought about between now and then that you want to bring up before we get started? Does this eliminate the need for a listing consultation? I think we've hit that on the head. No, like it's pre-listing consultation, pre-listing packet. So now you do the consultation. Is it a primer for education? Is it a primer for education you will provide at listing consultation? I would say yes and no. It really depends on your bullet points, but yes, I'm more in agreement with it is part of the educational process for those people. Causes them to read something, digest it, and if they don't understand it, they get to ask you questions, and it's going to save you some time. All right, here's an example of a pre-listing packet. Again, it very much looks like your listing presentation. I'll give you a pro tip here. If you're doing a pre-listing packet as well as a listing presentation, make sure that not very many things overlap in your listing consultation. In fact, most of your pre-listing packet should not have any be inside of your listing presentation. The other pro tip I want to give you guys is don't make your pre-listing packet 10 pages and your listing presentation 10 pages. It's just too much information, right? I would say the rule of thumb for me and what I see people use, your pre-listing packet should only be about a quarter of the size of your actual listing packet. So if my listing presentation is about 10 pages, I only want my pre-listing packet to be about 2 to 3, maybe 4. Make sense? All right, you can hand deliver it, you can mail it, you can email it. Once you do that, that's the great opportunity. So how do you know when a pre-listing packet goes out, Bruce? You push a pre-listing packet out once you set the appointment. I'm gonna jump on a soapbox real quick here. In the last month or so, I've had a lot of agents that say, Bruce, hey, are you available tomorrow to come to a buyer's consultation with me? Whoa, what are we setting about buyers? Whoa, why are we setting a consultation appointments without due time to get ready or prepared, which is why you want somebody to come with you because you don't have any time to prepare. I'm much more likely to be able to go on a consultation or appointment with you about a week to a week and a half from now. You should be the same way. Just because you have time tomorrow to do it does not mean you need to set it up. Remember, go from E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful. Does your doctor get you in tomorrow? No, because they have an established practice and business that causes them to have a flow of people to have you not be able to get in right away. No, you don't want to have a doctor that can get you in the next day if it's not an emergency. You want a doctor that can get you in if it's emergency. I totally get that. My dentist, let me give you an example. My dentist is amazing. All right. I write the experience that I have at my dentist office is so high that I write a 5-star Google review every time I get my teeth cleaned. So every 6 months. We have the listing clinic, or I'm sorry, we have something coming up when I have a dentist appointment. I called them to see if I could reschedule it. They are another 3 months out if I cancel this appointment. I want a dentist like that. Your clients want an agent who has a system and is engaged with their business. You only take on consultations or appointments in which the other side is telling you it's an emergency. Bruce, I need you to come over tomorrow because the landlord is going to be booting all of my stuff out of my apartment October 1st and I need a house. Okay, yeah, I'm coming over. It's the 7th. I'm coming over tomorrow. That rarely happens, you guys. Push that appointment out for 3 to 4 days at least. Best case scenario, push it out to next week or the week after. Week and a half for me, usually. Unless there's an emergency. This now gives you time to prepare a pre-listing packet. It gives you time to find a way to deliver it. It gives them time to digest it and be ready. If your pre-listing packet really is engaging, they will get started on some of those things in there and start sprucing up the house. Start to call a vendor to have the HVAC system looked at. Start to touch up baseboards. Then as your appointment comes closer, make sure that you confirm that appointment. I think it's wrong to confirm an appointment more than 24 hours before the appointment. I'm sorry, more than a full day before the appointment. So let's give you an example. If my appointment is on Friday at 5, I'm going to confirm that appointment somewhere between Thursday morning and Friday morning. I'm not confirming that appointment today. It's too much time in between today and Friday afternoon. I even will tell you I'll most likely confirm my appointment around Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. That's kind of my ideal time frame for something like that. Make sure all decision makers attend. Make sure all decision makers attend. I don't remember what agent we just had this happen to, but they did a buyer's consultation. They got the buyer's agency signed and they wanted to go look at homes. So they started to go look at homes, and guess who came with the buyer? His son, who is a co-signer on the loan, who will be on the contract. And now we've got a dad who understands the process because they went to a buyer's consultation. Now we got this son who basically is making the decision because it's going to be his house down the road. Now has no clue about how the process works and what goes on. And now it's going to be a headache for that agent because that son is going to ask a bunch of questions that was going to already be tackled at the appointment. So make sure all decision makers are there. Complete and practice your listing presentation. I can harp on that all day. Review your lead sheet, right? Review your lead sheet. So your lead sheet is that intake form that I showed you guys. Why are you moving? What are you moving for? You need to understand, again, you need to spark that motivation back up before you get to the appointment. So you can say things like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Sutter, thanks for having me over today. And I look forward to helping you with the transition from Colorado to Kentucky so you can be with your grandkids before Christmas. You want that to just roll off your tongue because you reviewed exactly why you're going over there to list their home. Arrive to the listing presentation in a professional manner. Dress the part, you guys. Dress the part. I don't care if they're your best friends who are hill jacks and never wear anything but a cutoff shirt, jeans, and boots. Dress the part. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go to with, full on 5-piece suit and tie to that type of appointment, but you need to wear something at least dress casual. If you're going into some place that is in a very nice neighborhood, has that, get in your duds. 5-piece suit, your Rolex, your whatever. Women, I apologize. I have no idea what you guys call some of those things, flats, and there's all sorts of words for you guys and stuff. dress the part, right? Be groomed, right? I hate to say this because I don't agree with this, but I need to tell you guys this. I've watched agents lose deals over tattoos, piercings, stuff like that. I want you guys to decide how you guys want to look. I condone anything that you guys want to wear and do, but I think that you can have tattoos, grungy hair, piercings, and still have a professional dress. That is something I do believe. But as far as like covering up tattoos, taking out your, that's up to you. Just know that there will be people out there that won't use you because of that. And that will be up to you to take that risk upon. Okay. All right. Listing appointment. The goal is to get a listing assigned. Put the sign in the yard. All right. We're going to do, we've already done, and we will continue to do, you guys, separate buyer consultation and separate listing consultation classes. So I apologize for everybody that's on here that thought we were going to go through an entire listing presentation. That is 2 hours in itself. And so for the sake of Ignite, we don't go through all of that stuff. But your goal of a listing presentation, you guys, is to get it signed. I really need you guys to think about E to P and getting focused and making sure that you understand how your seller process works. Do you use a listing pre-listing packet? Do you not? Do you have some sort of nice print material for the listing presentation, or is it loose leaf in a folder? Do you do everything on your computer or in paper? I don't care what it is. You guys need to get focused on how that looks for you. And you need to understand that the goal of the listing presentation is to get the listing signed. Why do I keep saying that? The goal of listing presentation in our minds is to do the presentation. No, the goal of the listing presentation is to get the listing signed. So if I already know that through my pre-consultation questionnaire that they want to list their home at 650, and I like 650 because the comps say that, I'm going to bring my CMA, but you know what I'm going to not do? I'm not going to talk about my CMA at all. Once price is established, what good does that do? Nothing. The goal is to get the listing agreement signed. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, now we're going to go walk through the selling process. So through the selling process, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I want you to ask me any questions. Oh, Bruce, yeah, no, I think we've got it. You know, we're gonna get this thing going. You're gonna have some photos done, and then people are gonna see our house. They're gonna make an offer, and we're gonna get to the closing table. Does that sound about right? Hey, sounds about right to me, my friend. I got one question for you just to make sure you understand. Do you know how they set up showings? No, go ahead and go through that. Okay. I'm not going through that whole seller's presentation when they already know how it works. Get the listing signed. Make sense? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here now, I've decided this is a great opportunity for us to work together. And now what I want to do is I want to go over our listing contracts. All right. Oh, Bruce, go ahead and just leave them with me. I'll review them and get them signed for you. No problem. I do this for a living. You're our guy. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, I'd like to get this thing signed today so I can put the sign in the yard and start to get to work for you. Is that going to be a problem? No, I know how these things work. Give them here. I'll get them signed, and I'll review them, and I'll ask you if you have any questions. Go ahead and put that sign in the yard. Here's your signature. Let's go. Don't need to review the listing consultation or contracts with them if they're going to do it on their own and they've already signed. Get the listing. Make sense? Sorry, does somebody have a question? I can't tell if the noise is coming through my ear or somebody outside. Okay. Create a great impression to build the seller's confidence in you. That is listening to the seller. If you don't have to go through everything, that means you're listening. You understand, hey, oh, it sounds like you guys know exactly what you guys are talking about. You guys have any questions? You guys want to go through this? No, we're good. Okay, move on, right? Share your price recommendation. We've talked about that a lot throughout this thing. Do we have any questions on pricing a home? Do we have any questions on setting expectations around that? Okay. Do we have any questions around how I want you guys to set the expectations around the market? And why using the market in your favor to price a home correctly is the right way to work? If you guys have questions, now's the time. I really want to make sure you guys have this. I believe listing a home is much more difficult than working with a buyer. So many nuances. Okay. Talked about that. I think we're about wrapped up, guys. Let me just double check that we've hit everybody. Yes. Thank you, Card. Okay, I'm glad this got brought up. All right. Every single appointment I go on, every time I knock on a door and have a great conversation, every time I'm on the phone and have a great conversation, a thank you card gets put in the mail instantly. So let me give you guys a little trick or a little tip. I want you guys to, when you guys go on presentations, have a thank you card already stamped, have your return address already on it. And you don't need it. You can have it addressed if you already know the address, but if you're working with a buyer, sometimes you get that at the appointment. If you're at the listing, what I want you to do is I want you to get that listing, and then I want you to fill in I want you to write on your steering wheel, write your thank you card. Hey, thanks for the opportunity for me to list your home today. You know, I'm glad you made the decision to go with the other agent. I wish you the best of luck. You're still giving them a thank you card, even if they go with another agent, because they might not have signed yet. And that might be the one thing that says, you know what? I got your thank you card, man. And we haven't actually signed with that other agent, and we've been thinking about it a lot. And that's the thing. Or, hey, thank you guys so much for having me come over tonight. I appreciate it. I'm going to get to work for you super quick. And I look forward to helping you sell your home for top dollars. Send it. All right, guys, we are done. I know we went over time. I'm not going to go through some of the minutia. Just triple check here. All right. Let me go back to this slide here. Any questions on Command or Connect? I know we don't hammer them home in Ignite, but if you have questions, now's your time. Or you should be attending our technology classes. Let me say that again. The reason why we don't go through and hammer home those things is because we have separate classes for them. Our office believes that those could be incorporated in Ignite, but that would mean we're going to take away from the material and the content around working with a seller. So please, if you guys are still struggling with the technology piece, if you are looking at this screen and going, what the heck is Connect? Give me a call offline. Let's definitely dive into it.
Hey Bruce, I have a really quick question.
Yeah.
So every time we get like a lead, I make it like a tag on like on my database, like tags, leads, and stuff like that. Am I
Yeah.
supposed to be creating? I know this sounds like such a stupid question. I should know this, but should I be creating opportunities for every lead that I have?
No, I think that's a great question. I'm gonna say maybe, maybe not. So let me tell
Obviously,
you.
everyone I have under contract, obviously they have opportunities made, and then I've had a few referrals go out, and I've made opportunities for that as well. But should, like, if somebody says they want to list their house in a year, should I be making an opportunity for that?
Yeah, so I would say that, great question. Let me make sure I can articulate this. The only time I make an opportunity for a lead is when they are a 5 to 10 on my pipeline scale. So 10 meaning they're ready, willing, and able to buy a home or sell a home today. They're already have an opportunity because I've been working with them heavily. If they're a 10, I already know that, right? 9 is they are less than a month away from doing something. 8 is less than 2 months. 7 is less than 3 months. 6 is less than 4 months, and 5 is less than 5 months. So I basically say maybe I create an opportunity for anybody 6 months or less is what I do. But if you're not wrong creating opportunities for every lead, the only reason why I don't like to do it for every lead is you will get the vibe. Is this lead viable? Are they going to pan out? Are they really, really flaky? So I just don't want you spending time in the system doing clerical work for things that you're just going to have to delete later on.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. As far as what Michaela was talking about. So here are a bunch of my opportunities that I have going on. These are, I think I'm in listings. Yeah, these are my listing leads. And when these start to come to fruition, actually, I think, gosh, I probably need to work on this a little bit. I need to put some of these in people and nurture, but this is for you guys to go through. I get the lead. Most leads are on watch at first. That's the, hey, I'm still feeling you out. I'm not even nurturing you yet. I'm not even touching base with you. I'm still trying to figure out what the heck you're doing. Once I have a timeline and motivation set, now I need to nurture that lead. Once I nurture that lead and they all of a sudden are a 5 and then a 6 and then a 7 and then an 8, 9, or 10, now they're hot. So this pipeline is amazing because look down here at the bottom. In this watch category, I've got a potential of $92,000. $92,000. Potential of 62,000. I don't do the probables. I don't fill that stuff out right. That's why the numbers are so low. Potential of $92,000 in commission, 62,000, 11,000. I love watching where my business is going, where it's headed, what's going on with it. If you're not using this system, well, okay, let's use the right language, Bruce. If you're not using this model in this system and heavily focused on why this is so powerful, I need you to get in there and I need you to start messing with it, right? So the model is this, the watch, it's the website. The system is the system that I use. I say that nobody gets to be in the opportunity unless they're a 5 or above. I say that no one gets to go into this nurture category until I know their motivation. I say, and my system is that no one goes into this hot category until they're an 8, 9, or 10. Everybody understand that? Focus on it, meaning learn this. The model is the opportunities in command, and the system is the implementation of the definitions that I use in my pipeline. Any other questions on command? Opportunities? Did that answer your question, Michaela?
Yeah, it did. Thank you. I probably need to make some opportunities.
And we all do, but you know, the thing I like about you is I would rather have you have a lack of opportunities in command because you're so busy with your other job and lead generating. So yeah. Why don't we look at this? All right. Hold a 4-part listing consultation. Introduce yourself to the team. View the property in the eyes of a buyer. Ask clarifying questions. Present comps and contracts. If you guys don't know your flow, sit down with a pen and paper right after this and get that down. I really appreciate you guys sticking out here, so I might as well just continue to show you guys some things. If you guys don't have this YouTube playlist, this is where all of my training videos go. This is where this Ignite training video is going to go. Alicia, I'm going to put it in chat right now so you can take it. Here's a buyer's presentation. Here's a buyer's consultation. Here's a buyer's consultation with Rod. Where's my seller's presentation? Mock listing presentation, mock listing presentation. Here are 2 listing presentations that we've recorded. So now that you've went through Ignite, I encourage you to watch both or at least one or 2 of them. This one was at Darby's house and this one was at Michelle's house. Both are pretty relevant and pretty unique. So, any other questions, you guys? See, Liz,